Whose wrench is this?
I don't know. Nobody's?
It's in a dumb spot.
What's going on, guys? Patrick with Nobody's Wrench here. Today I wanted to give you a little introduction video on my 1957 Ford Fairlane Custom 300, a 4-door. Woo! 4 doors are always fun, you know. But yeah, so my great-grandfather bought this in 1957 down in Iowa. Ironically enough, he wanted a Bel Air, and at the time, dealerships would drive the car out to you for a test drive. And he called Chevrolet. The story goes that they said, we don't do that anymore. So he's like, fine, I'm gonna call Ford. So he called Ford and they rolled out with this beauty. And she's probably a lot cleaner then and a little fresher paint. But they came out and he test drove it and he wanted it. And ironically enough, or interestingly enough, he didn't want the factory radio in there. It saved like $50 off the price tag. Of course, $50 in 1957 is a healthy chunk. So the factory radio was removed. Later on down the road, my dad found a replacement one. That's a vintage, 57. It's not hooked up, but it's in there at least. It looks good in the dash. So great-grandfather bought it, drove it for as long as he could, and then I don't remember if he had a stroke or passed away or what happened there, but then his wife, my great-grandma, got it and she drove it for a bit until she could no longer drive. Same thing, had a stroke or something. And old people things, it happens. But then my grandfather went down and picked it up and brought it up here. And then it made its way through the entire family, and all my dad's siblings drove it, and the front end reflects that because there's little dings and dents and damage that apparently they all had happened to them. I'm sure I'll get corrected if they see this and tell me otherwise, but she's got some war wounds and she's got some character on her, but eventually it got parked in an underneath garage at their mom's place. And I think it sat there for like 5 or 10 years, just kind of sitting there. And eventually my dad started to take it out and he would drive it. And he'd go park his truck for like a week. He would take this thing out and drive it. And I was probably 8 when I saw it the first time. And I didn't know what it was. I knew it was a Ford because it says it across the front end. And I love the look of it. And I've loved the look of this car from the moment I saw it. I've been absolutely just infatuated with it. And I love this body style. I love the look of these cars. Interestingly enough, from the things that I have read, the 57 Fairlane actually outsold the Bel Air in 57, but the Bel Air seems to get all the attention and that stuff, and the Fairlanes were kind of forgotten about for a long time, I feel like. And as I have gone back to the 50s and other car shows, I have begun to see more and more of them the last, 15, 20 years, we'll call it. And like I said, I've been in love with it the moment I saw it, and it's got a lot of cool things to it. So at this moment in time, like I said, my dad had it, was driving it for a little bit. Eventually he took possession of it and was just driving it at our house at the time. And then when his father passed away, the car was officially given to him. And then unfortunately a couple of years ago, my dad passed away and now I have the car. I got it out of storage. So he had been driving it fairly regularly. And then about 2 years before he passed, he had put it in storage. Just things were moving, that kind of stuff. He needed to put it away. So it's sat in storage for about 2.5 years. And then I got it out, which would have been like 3 or 4 years ago now. So it's been sitting for a while and it reflects that. When I went and picked it up, the right rear was seized. So it is gonna need some rear brakes. And I just picked up the front end to readjust the dollies and get them a little more squared up. And the left front has got some healthy wiggle to it. So she needs some TLC and a little bit of loving to get her back on the road. And that is kind of my project and goal for the rest of the winter here in 2025 in Minnesota. And then into the spring, I want to get it back on the road because she absolutely deserves to be there and she's a blast to drive. I love driving this car. I have from the moment I saw it. One of my favorite things about this car is, the hood opens the wrong way and I love that. Such a cool feature, such a cool look of the car. So it is powered by a Ford V8 312 Thunderbird Special. And it does have the Ford-O-Matic transmission in it. I believe that's a 3-speed. You guys can correct me if you know better. I think it's a 3-speed. It does have a 4-barrel Holley on it. I don't think that was factory. I think we changed to that at some point. We did exhaust on it, 25 years ago or something. So she's got a little bit of good tone to her. She's got a 4-barrel on it now. So she's mostly original. She's 95% original, I would say. And it's got about 52,000 miles on it. I say about because the odometer cable fell off or broke off or something happened many, many, many years ago. And I think the thing says like 47,000 on it. So it's got somewhere in the 52 to 55,000 miles on it that has been driven total. So it's a survivor in its own right, but it's been in the family ever since. And I love the look of the 50s cars. I love the curved windshield. I love the vent windows. The door jambs on this thing are still awesome. Nice and sturdy, they sound good, they close good. It's got the fins on the rear that the 50s cars have, and I love that look. I always have. So yeah, she's a project in her own right. You know, it's gonna need some loving, but that's kind of my goal. She's still got white walls on it, and I can't tell you how old these tires are. I don't know if they've ever been changed in my life that I've seen the car, so she needs a couple of things. But I, like I said, love this car. I want to get it back on the road. It has all the characters from the family driving it. At one point, somebody had locked themselves out of it, and the vent window here is missing a little bit of glass because the lock is on the inside. So somebody broke the glass with a screwdriver, stuck their finger in there, and picked it back up. So yeah, she has all the character and all the things that I love about it on it still, and I look forward to getting it back on the road. So if you like Fairlanes, if you like 50s cars, if you like any of that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments down below what you guys have. If you have a story with a Fairlane, be it a 4-door, 2-door, a Ranchero, anything like that, I would absolutely love to have a fleet of these things someday in my life. But this car isn't going anywhere but my family. I have no intentions on getting rid of it. I am not going to do a damn thing to it that's not as close to stock as I can keep it, because that's how it deserves to be. So tune it up, fix it up, get it back on the road, keep it original, and keep it going. I have a pickup truck, a 64 F100, that isn't worth much to anybody besides me for the emotional attachment that I've had on it. You'll see that probably in the coming months or whatever. I'll probably get that on the channel here. We're making some moves in the background for stuff like that. Yeah, this one needed to be in the garage. The 64 can sit outside a bit. This one I was not willing to do that to, because I just love it. It's been in my life, in a big portion of my life for a long time. So I would not want to do anything to it that's not, like I said, as close to stock as I can possibly get it. So long story short, put something in the comments down below if you get a story on these things. Like I said, someday I'd love to get a 2-door, maybe a Ranchero. It'd be sweet to have those, but for now, this is my beauty, and I'm going to keep her because she's fantastic. So all the things that people got rid of on them, this thing still got it all. I know these were a big thing for a while that people removed, and they still have it. Just good character. She's an absolute beaut, Clark. I love this thing. Yeah, it's worthy of getting back on the road. So, like I said, she's a beaut, Clark. Hit that subscribe button, stick around for that. Tom, Dan, John, and I all have projects coming up this year. We've got kind of a host of things we've been working on, hopefully to make 2025 a good year for us all around and some good content. So hit the subscribe button, like, share, all that usual stuff, and I will see you on the next video from Nobody's Wrench. Thank you.